Greetings, good people, beautiful people. Welcome to Kalami Royalty, the podcast. I am your host, Mihle Chiba. Welcome to episode 2. And if you missed episode 1, here's what I spoke about. I spoke about what mental health is, factors that affect our mental health, and factors that could actually lead to a person being diagnosed with a mental illness. I also spoke about how suicide is a mental related issue. So, on this episode, I want us to look at mental illnesses and explain Wuti, how are they different and who can suffer from them. So, yeah, we'll look at that and how these mental illness can actually affect our daily lives. So, we are going to talk about mental disorder or mental illness. Mental disorder is also called mental illness. So a mental illness is a wide range of conditions that affect our mood, thinking, nendlela behavior ngayo. And so I want us to look at the most common mental illnesses. So you might be familiar with depression, and depression is a mental health disorder that is characterized by persistently depressed mood, all the time, or loss of interest in activities. You lose interest really fast and can't stick to one activity. These changes and feelings cause a significant impairment in daily life. This would be the right time for you to seek medical help soon as you notice drastic changes in your daily life in terms of feeling depressed all the time, not wanting to go outside, or unable to relate to others at work, at school, or at home. Because you might be showing symptoms of depression and not be diagnosed with depression, but regarded as having a poor mental health. So having a poor mental health means that your symptoms are not severe, and you need to take care of your mental health. But your symptoms, if your symptoms are very severe, you are like to a point where you can't function or relate to others most of the time, then you might be diagnosed with depression. So just make sure Uguti you're all right as soon as you show symptoms of depression, like by having persistently depressed moods, loss of interest in activities, then seek medical help to your nearest clinic or hospital. Another mental illness I want to talk about is anxiety. And remember, to my listeners, if you were listening to episode 1, I did say that all of the episodes on season 1, they will be short. So I don't want to take up too much time and overwhelm you with too much information here on season 1. So I'm just gonna try and keep it short. So just on this episode, like I said, I'll be talking about mental illnesses, and so far I spoke about depression. So these are most common mental illnesses, but there's more. But on this season, we'll just give little of information, and on season 2, it will be like a whole other level of bringing information to you. So another mental illness I want to talk about is anxiety. Anxiety is a mental health disorder or illness characterized by feelings of worry. So have you ever been overly worried about something, or your fears that are strong enough to interfere with one's daily activity or your life? On this episode 1, I mentioned that I also suffer from anxiety. In high school, bekunzima for me. My anxiety had gotten worse. I got panic attacks, I'd sweat, I'd shake, and unable to walk. And soon as I start to worry or have fear of the unknown. So depression and anxiety is a common illness, and that most people are diagnosed with, whether temporarily diagnosed because of poor mental health or long-term diagnosed, meaning the illness has taken over your life and it's chronic and need to be on medication all the time to be on track again. Another mental illness I want to talk about is bipolar. I think that's also the common one. So bipolar is associated with episodes of mood swings ranging from depressive lows to manic highs. So by depressive lows means that you feel very depressed, like too depressed. You can't think straight, you can't do anything, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to go outside, you don't want to talk to people, you just want to be left alone. Others even stay in bed for hours, or even days, weeks, months, because they are on that depressive lows or depressive moods actually. And then manic highs is when someone is extremely how do I put this, extremely happy or excited, or just overly excited or overly happy. Like you find a lot of people would like go from a depressive mode to a manic high to just I'm trying to find a way to better explain this so that I don't want to use like um big terms. So I want everyone to be able to understand what I'm talking about. So manic highs, okay, let me make an example. Like you find a person who works, who is employed, but who gets paid minimum wages, and that person engakabhatalwa will be in that depressive mode. But soon as they get paid, they just want to spend all the money. They don't think about saving it and all of that. So they become on that manic mode, from depressive mood to manic high, to like they will spend all of their money as if they're not going to work the following day, or the following days or weeks, or a month. And then when all of that money is finished, they go to a depressive mode again. So it's just that cycle. That's bipolar disorder. Or someone who becomes depressed when they are alone. They prefer being in public places and being around people. So when they are around people, they're extremely happy and they want to impress and all of that. But when they are alone, they become depressed. Or it could be vice versa. They could be depressed around people but be happy by themselves. Too happy for to be alone. And so that is bipolar. Another disorder I want to talk about is ADHD. So it's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So this disorder is mostly found in children. It's a chronic condition including attention difficulty, hyperactive, and impulsiveness. And so you find kids who are very active, too active. So and you don't know what's wrong with when you don't know what's wrong with the child. So you need to also pay attention to how children behave. So like I mentioned in episode 1 that mental health is important from childhood, adolescence to adulthood. So it's important that you pay attention to your child's behavior, so that it can be identified in a way if your child has a mental disorder. So another one I want to mention is autism. I think that's the most common as well in children. So autism is a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate or interact. You find that the child, especially with their emotions, I've had cases. Oh, so I have a creative writing book club for children, so I work with kids most of the time, and I remember there was one child who um was showing signs of autism, and when I spoke to the parents, they were like, no, I unjalo. She doesn't like being around people. She doesn't like interacting with people or talking to people. And it was to a point where it was hard for that child to do group discussions in our class, or even do group projects, because they just prefer being alone and doing things they like by themselves instead of interacting with people or communicating with people. Um, that child rarely spoke actually. She would just say 2 or 3 words and then she'll be done for the day. She won't talk a lot. So that's autism. So you need to really pay attention to your child, um, so that you can identify if they could be suffering from a mental illness. Another one I want to talk about is post-traumatic stress disorder, your PTSD. I think that's we might be familiar with that. It's a disorder characterized by failure to recover after experiencing or witnessing a terrifying event. I was diagnosed with I am diagnosed with PTSD, and this was because of my childhood trauma. I had a childhood trauma, and I think I did mention in episode 1 that um I had a mental breakdown last year, which was 2021 in May, and all of that trauma from my childhood just came back, and it really affected me, and that's why I was diagnosed with PTSD. So, like I said, if you find that a lot of people who've experienced trauma, like a loss of a spouse or a loss of a child, or um, family problems, like there's a divorce, your parents are divorcing and all of that, that could actually have a negative impact on a child or a teenager or even an adult, to a point where they can't function like they used to because of the stress is too much and they can't deal with that. And they go into different episodes and all of that, and that person could actually be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and be put on medication actually, so that they could recover. I'm also on medication, and I'm recovering pretty well. um, I'm okay now, now that I'm on medication, and I think it's better that I'm on medication because I am aware of what I'm suffering from, and I pay attention to any changes that happen to me. So yeah, post-traumatic stress is characterized by failure to recover after experiencing or witnessing a terrific or terrifying event. Even people who like um are from have an accident, those people are also highly to be diagnosed with PTSD. Divorced parents can suffer from PTSD, or children can suffer from PTSD because of those a passing of a, a parent or accident and so forth. And I don't think there was I think that most